So a few months ago, I checked out X1 Box, which was an Xbox emulator. Wasn't that impressed, wasn't able to really do much with it. However, there was another app that has been released in the months since called HakuX, and this seems to be a much better Xbox emulator. So let's see how it runs on the AYN Thor. So if we head over to Obtainium, and we'll notice that there's a couple of Xbox emulators. So the first one is HakuX, which will be the one we're using for this tutorial. There is also X1 Box, which is a more general Xbox emulator. I found this one to be not as good, so we're going to be focusing on HakuX. So we'll just download it, and we'll install it as always. So we're also going to need some emulator files. We're going to need a BIOS file, a MCPX file, and a hard disk image file. So these are available from Kev1991's GitHub, so I'll leave a link to this in the description below. Okay, so I've got my emulator files and I've got a game, I've got Halo. So I'm just going to press and hold and I'm going to extract these. So there's our emulator files, and I'm also going to extract the game whilst we're here as well. And then whilst that's doing, I'm going to make myself a little Xbox folder in my ROMs folder. I'm going to make sure it's all lowercase. Okay, so now that's done, I'm just going to grab my Halo ISO and I'm just going to paste it over to my Xbox folder. So if we look at our emulator files, we can see I've got our BIOS, our hard drive, and our MCPX. So we'll open it up. So the first thing it's going to ask you is to choose the boot ROM, the MCPX ROM, which we've just got. So if we go to our downloads folder, into our Xbox, MCPX, and there we go. Give it a second to copy it over to its internal storage. And then we'll need the flash ROM, which is in the BIOS folder. It'll do the same. So you can see that it's copying the file, so it's transferring it to its own internal storage. And then for the hard disk file, we'll use the HDD one. And then we'll pick our games folder. There we are, so it's detected Halo, and we can have a cover grid, and it will look up the box art online, or you can just have a list. I quite like the cover grid, so we'll leave that. And then we can hit our settings. So what's in our settings? We've got our data. So we can change the folder if you want, we can change any of the systems. You can back up your save games by exporting your hard disk image. So for our graphic settings, Vulkan is up by default, which is what we want. For our resolution scale, we'll try upscaling this just to a 2 times to start. And then for aspect ratio, we'll leave it on auto for now and we'll just see how it looks. So we want to install a driver from our zip, so this will be our Turnip driver. So we'll grab that from wherever you've downloaded it. If you've not seen any of my other videos, I'll show you where to get the Turnip drivers. So if you go to Obtainium and you scroll down, we're looking for the track only settings. So we've got Adreno Tools drivers and Mr. Purple Turnip drivers. So you can get both of these. Some will work better than others. It's entirely game by game or emulator by emulator. So I'm just going to stick with the Adreno Tools for this one, as that seems to be slightly more up to date. So if we head down, we go to Turnip on the right hand side, and then you can see we're looking, it has to be the Adreno A7 version, because if you get the A8, that is for the Snapdragon Elite, which is the Odin 3's processor. We don't need the One UI version, we just want that zip there. And then what I've done, and I advise you do this as well, should have done it before, but oh well, is I've made a little Turnip folder. So I'm in there, I'm going to press and hold, and I'm just going to cut and paste it across. So that way, anytime I need to import the Turnip driver, I can just grab it from that folder. So now if we head back to GPU driver, we're going to install it from a zip, and we're going to find that Turnip folder. There we go. So it'll apply it on the next game launch, but we can see it's active there. Obviously, if you've got a couple, you can use the select driver, and then you can just pick the one you want. So that's all we need to do currently for settings, so we'll see how we get on when we actually boot a game. So I'm going to enable some sound, because one of the issues I had last time is the sound was god-awful. So let's see how Halo boots now. So sound-wise, it's a lot better than it was. You saw there was some kind of funkiness going on with the initial boot up screen. There's some little twitchiness going in the back there. So I can see that currently in this intro scene that the temperatures are pretty good. I'm currently testing the Pulse app, so I'm underclocking the device slightly. so I'll be covering that in a future video as well. And I do have my CPU set to high performance, but 76 degrees, and I'm getting 28 FPS, and that's absolutely fine. So even with these big explosions happening on screen, it's running very, very well still. Like, it did report a slight frame drop to like 20 FPS, but it was only for a split second and was hardly noticeable. So we're getting some little hitchiness there, but it's only for a moment. So even now we're in gunfight territory, it's staying pretty consistent. The temps have risen a couple of degrees, but still not to anything alarming. You should only really be alarmed when you hit the high 80s and low 90s. So we've got some frame dips there to around about 20, but it's not going to ruin the experience. This is still perfectly playable. I'd only really consider something not playable frame rate wise is if you were talking like single digit frames. So we're at like 15, 16 there, so there's quite a lot going on. But it is only for a moment or so when there's a lot happening on screen. But for an emulator that's in such early stages, it's come a long way from where it was when I first tried it a couple months ago. So this is a perfectly viable way to play Xbox. Obviously, some games will perform better than others. I imagine some won't even boot at all. You just have to give it a try. So manage your expectations. This will not be a perfect Xbox emulator. It is barely in its infancy in terms of development. But the fact that we can get this far is testament to the developers and the work that they're putting in. So that was Xbox on the AYN Thor. If you like this video, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. If you've got any questions, comments or feedback, then please drop a comment below. I've got many, many more videos coming out about the AYN Thor over the coming months, so you'll want to make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next time.